Now, at Autocar, we sometimes ask people what their favourite 3 or 5 car dream garage might consist of, and you get a lot of answers, including supercars, sports cars, even racing cars. But everybody thinks, you know what, I need something practical as well. And so the most common answer of all is an Audi RS6.
It is meant to be all things: fast, comfortable, spacious. A car that can take your kids to school, bring a smile to your face, and make your dog vomit, all in short order. And here is the latest version. Compared to the standard A6, only the roof, front doors and tailgate are carried over panels from the regular A6 Avant. Flared front arches house wider tracks and bigger alloys. There is a new bonnet, rear spoiler and front and rear bumpers. It looks as much like Audi has tried to make a race car as an estate car.
And part of this car's intrinsic appeal means the 4th generation RS6 will be the first, weirdly, to be available in the United States as well as throughout the rest of the world. Now, in an era of downsizing and having smaller engines with electric assistance and so on and so forth, this car retains a 4-litre twin-turbocharged V8 engine, which has been turned up to 600 horsepower, 592 brake, 590 pounds-foot of torque as well, which drives through an 8-speed conventional automatic transmission. But fret not, because it is a hybrid, sort of. It's a really mild, I mean like really Corma strength mild, 48-volt electrical system. There's a battery in the boot, and what it can do if you're in the most efficient mode on one of the drive select modes that I'll come to on here, is it allows sort of coasting, and it will even sort of stop the engine below 13 miles an hour. But what it never does is actually drive under electric power alone. It's not that sort of hybrid. It's basically a start-stop clever starter generator system, and that improves the economy to a staggering 22 miles to the gallon, which is not outstanding, but that is where we are. The RS6 has always been a heavy car. I mean, there was a time when it had a Lamborghini-derived V10 engine, don't forget. Even today, it still weighs 2,075 kilograms.
Despite that 2.1-tonne curb weight, which is a little more than a Mercedes E63's, this is still a very, very fast car. How fast? Well, we've had it at our test track for a full road test, which is a secret industry track from where we cannot, I'm afraid, bring you pictures or video. But there the RS6 hit 60 miles an hour from standstill in just 3.3 seconds. From 0 to 100, it wanted just 7.8 seconds. This is a car that can do a standing quarter mile in 11.7 seconds at more than 120 miles an hour. It's just 0.2 shy of a BMW M5 when we put that down the same straight. Make no mistake, it is in the Premier League of performance cars.
So what is it like to drive? Well, the driving environment is good. I've got a very sound driving position, a really nice Alcantara wheel. I love an Alcantara steering wheel, don't know why, just do. And Audi's MMI system has long been near, if not at, the top of the class. Now, I've got a haptic glass display top and bottom now, plus some shortcuts that take me through the digital panel. This is a good driving environment. It's maybe not as straightforward as it was when Audi gave you a little turny twiddly knob, but touchscreens do let you get through a lot of information very quickly, and there are some interesting shortcuts, such as the RS mode. I think, seeing the success of BMW's M buttons on the steering wheel, Audi has slightly copied those. So if I press RS mode 1, I can go into one kind of mode, which I get a hockey stick kind of rev counter reminiscent of the original Quattro. There's an RS2 mode as well, RS2, I like that, see what they've done there. Or you can get back to normal. Now, what this car puts you in when you click those modes, one, you can sort of tune them slightly as you like, but also it depends what you've specified on your RS6. Because this car has a base price of 90 odd grand in the UK, at which is less than the E63 AMG and a bit less than a Porsche Panamera Turbo Sport, Hybrid Sport, Touring, blah blah blah, estate thing. But you can get pretty fancy with the options. So as standard, this comes with air springs. As standard, it gets a top speed limited to 155, but if you spec the Vorsprung pack, as in Vorsprung Durktechnik, that top speed lifts to 175 miles an hour or so, and if you want to raise it again to near enough 190, you spec the carbon ceramic disc option, which brings with it much lighter wheels. Now also you can specify coil springs rather than air springs, which is unusual, isn't it? Usually the option is air sprung as an option if you want. No, this is air sprung as standard, but if you want coil springs, it gets a little bit stiffer, a little bit keener, and then there are 3-stage adaptive dampers on those coil springs. This car has that pack. It also has rear steering. This is a long car. It's a 5-metre long car with a long wheelbase. So it's got active rear steer to try and make it feel more dynamic, more agile, with the coil springs, the 22-inch wheels. So this should be a car that's good fun to drive. So let's firm up those dampers. I may leave the steering on comfortable, because you just do, don't you? Choose the engine sound as pronounced. The Quattro Sport differential, which can push up to 85% of power, apparently, to the rear axle. I'll put the ESC on Sport and see what this 2.1-ton estatey barge has to offer. So first thing to note, it is really quick. Second thing to note, although there is a little bit of V8 wobble, it's quite muted. This is not a car which has the same level of noise interaction of that big AMG V8. Like it moves around a little bit on these winter tyres, but the overall balance is set in sort of steady state cornering to stable and planted. However, if you do get on the power and you stay on it, that diff does do its thing and that active rear steer does help it turn. This is one of the more agile large Audi estate cars, one of the more agile fast Audis, basically fast front-engined Audis, but I think there probably is. Is it as interactive as an E63 or the Porsche? Well, I'm not totally convinced. I mean, in the E63, if you really want to, you can turn off the front-wheel drive element. It feels mostly a rear-wheel drive car all the time anyway. And the Porsche, I think, is just a bit more tied down and a bit faster through corners all the time. Although I think the Audi rides a little bit more comfortably than the Porsche. Now, I'd need them all absolutely back-to-back to say for sure, but I've driven the others not that long ago. I would say the Mercedes is probably more entertaining. The Porsche is arguably more capable. However, this RS6 has a really quite likeable blend of ride, comfort, grip, performance and handling, that given it is a 2,075 kilogram estate car with a big boot, bigger than the Porsches, not quite as big as the Mercedes, plenty of space in the back, it is certainly a likeable and not unentertaining all-round car to drive. And the nice thing about it, let's be honest, it's not an SUV, is it? So the fact that you sit a little bit lower, the fact that it's a little bit more entertaining, it's a little bit more agile, it's a little bit more engaging, it feels a little bit less conspicuous. I would say quite a lot going for it. So if you are filling a dream garage and you need one car to rule them all, to take the children to school, go on a track day, scare the dog witless, do the shopping, there's nothing quite like an Audi RS6.
So thanks for joining us for this one. We really appreciate your support of the channel. Give us a like and a subscribe if you like, and you never miss one in future. Otherwise, we're here all the time. You'll also find us at autocar.co.uk, and we're in all good newsagents every Wednesday. See you next time.